on there?
Good. Everything's fine.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to your creative journey. My name is Kevin Gregg.
I'm still Paul Carganilla.
Welcome to the show that is designed to help you get your creative work done, whether you're an actor, writer, singer, dancer, painter, what else could they be? Paul.
Professional paranormal tour guide, bingo
Yeah.
manager,
Yes,
cooling and freezing equipment operators,
I'll take it.
dog surfing instructor,
Okay.
actual professional thing. Check this one out.
Yes.
Foliage grader.
What did you say? A foliage grater?
Foliage grader.
Ooh, what do you have the actual description for what that is?
I do, Kevin.
Okay,
New England states like Connecticut are known for their brilliantly colored fall foliage.
Yes, they are.
As leaves turn shades of red, orange, yellow in the fall, Connecticut keeps tourists who come to see the foliage known as leaf peepers. Leaf peepers. These are informed by a weekly updated state map pointing to the best foliage views on a scale from very low to peak to past peak.
Oh, that's amazing. I love the fact that it's like a grater, like a cheese grater. Like they kind of do it, like they kind of do that with the foliage.
Grater, like
Grater.
yeah.
I wanted to say grater. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they got out like the big Parmesan thing. So they have like a big Parmesan thing that they do with bushes, you know, kind of like, all right, let's get this looking good. Anyway, no matter what creative thing you do, we're so glad to have you here. We've got fantastic guests with us, like the two guests that are visiting us tonight. We've got Aaron Bertram and Rachel Charest. They are here. They are from yes, Kids Imagination.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Aaron.
I'm Rachel.
Glad to have you here. These two are magnificent performers, singers, dancers, musicians. They have done their own creative stuff. We're going to unpack all of their career because they've gone the gamut, right? From playing in bands, from acting in shows, from being down at Disneyland, yes, to now creating their own stuff. They were the perfect guests to have on tonight. Welcome, Rachel and Aaron. How are you guys?
Thank you. We pride ourselves in being a grader of arts. So
where's your? So do you bring out like a big
Parmesan? Parmesan.
I grade it though. Like Paul does. We actually heard about that on a podcast recently.
Yeah. Okay.
On Allie and Bean.
You know, K-Rock and Kevin and Bean.
Oh, yeah.
Bean and Allie have their own podcast on Patreon. Now I don't know why we're pitching it to them, but they talk. She lives in Maine now, and they do the leaf peeping. So when you were talking
she was talking about leaf peeping recently, and we're like, this is the second time we've heard about leaf peeping.
Yeah.
Look at that. See how everything works out. Oddly enough, do you remember Chip that used to be on the Kevin and Bean stuff? Right. Chip was Danielle that used to work at Disneyland. Yes. I used to do shows with her, you know?
And they're good friends, Allie and Chip.
It's unbelievable, man. How does guys, we're so glad to have you on the show. They've got Rachel and Aaron with Kids Imagination. They've got a new album that's out. They're doing performances right now for Christmas up in Santa's Village down here in Southern California. We wanted to have you guys on the show because I want to unpack a little bit of your journey. We were talking a little bit before the show. But the first question that we always ask, Rachel and Aaron, what was the best thing that happened to you this last week? Now, it could be two completely different things. Okay. I know you guys are married. I know you guys got a whole bunch of stuff, but it's like, you know, Aaron said, hey, that cheese sandwich I had was the best thing I had. And she said, I thought it was,
that's a great.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Terribly.
Yeah, that's all right. Or gluten. So, I mean,
but what was the best?
If we did, that cheese sandwich would have been great.
And it would have been graded.
I
would have graded it an A.
I know my answer. We just opened our Christmas 2021 show at Sky Park at Santa's Village in Lake Arrowhead on Friday. And it's just such a joy to be up there. It's so beautiful. It's in the middle of the forest. We get to write and update a new Christmas show each year, and it just incorporates absolutely everything we love. So I feel very grateful to have started our holiday journey this Friday.
High five that answer. That's great.
Aaron, now you got to top that or not.
Well, so I'm going to do something that was today that happened maybe 4 hours ago.
Okay.
We do our live streams. I mean, we're going to get into that, I'm sure. But we do these fairy tale nights where we talk about fairy tales, and we do these intros, kind of like, do you remember the Great British Bake Show?
Oh yeah, Kate loves it.
How they do like
it.
a little skit right before the show. So we do a pre-recorded skit before the show almost every time. And today we're talking about Luca and how I wanted to be a sea serpent from Luca, if you haven't seen it. And Rach, we were just outside and Rach squirted me with a hose. And we aired that. Like, just I love that in this outfit right here.
Wait a second. Yeah. So you're saying that the best thing that happened to you this week was that you got squirted
with a hose and water. Yeah.
Because we recorded in slow motion and it was really fun.
Right. So times we had to get different angles, so it was a couple. Yeah,
I love this. Hey, real quick, we want to say hi to our people that are joining us on YouTube. If you're joining us right now, please feel free to share this link right now so other people can join the conversation. But we want to give a big shout out to Krista King, who's saying hi, Kevin, Paul, Rachel, and Aaron. Matthew King's here. Finally, I've been dying to get this group of 4 awesome people to get together. Kelsey's here. Hi, Kelsey. Good to have you here. Holly's in the house. Glad to have you here with us. So here's the thing that popped in my head when I was thinking about Rachel and Aaron. These 2 guys are just like, we're talking about it before the show.
One's a guy.
Listen, who knows? I just do the generic.
You're speaking old English.
I do the generic guys. The generic guys.
Okay, you got to at least go old California. These 2 dudes.
These 2 dudes. Seriously. These guys. This powerhouse couple have been working over the last several years. They are the pure example of creating their own stuff. Let's do this. Let's unpack a little bit. Aaron and Rachel, could you just briefly give us a little bit of what your background was? Aaron, I know that you were raised in Orange County. Rachel, I don't even know where you hail from. Where are you from?
Rach first. I think that's great.
Sure. Before
we dig into all of that, is it okay? Like, because they're a kid's imagination, or are they Rachel and Aaron? Are we allowed to dig into the background?
I think we can. This will be great. We're gonna open up the curtain a little bit and see what's behind the little BTS.
All right. I just
a little butter.
Sure, we weren't getting uncomfortable.
I like this. Now hold on. I gotta be the old grandpa in the room. So what does BTS stand for?
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Okay.
But if you're talking about BTS, the K-pop group,
that's what I thought, because I literally just saw
I
saw Coldplay just do a thing with BTS. I said, is this like a K-pop reference? What is this?
Rachel, what does BTS mean?
We actually looked up the meaning of their name today and I've now forgotten.
It's something about not pushing the boundaries or something like that. I mean,
this is Korean. Is what the BTS stands for? It's like the Korean words for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So pushing the boundaries.
Step right, left to my beat. All right. Forget I did any of that.
I love it.
We're going to
pulling the back curtain. Rachel.
Yes, I grew up half in Orange County. My dad lived in Orange County. My mom lived in Rancho Cucamonga. So I grew up between those 2 places.
Oh, wow.
I studied musical theater and dance and singing and acting at a dance studio in Glendora. So I spent a lot of my time in that area, Covina, Glendora, West Covina area.
And was that like the trajectory for you, which is like, I'm going to do like some version of acting, singing, performing?
Yes. My number one love has always been singing, probably acting from there, and then dancing. But just, musical theater has always been my number one love. Absolutely.
Was that a thing was anybody else in the family musically inclined that way or performing?
No, absolutely not. I'm definitely alone in that.
So how was that received, if you don't mind me asking? Because sometimes we have some people, I know that I came from a background that was like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Why are you getting into this? Right.
Definitely. I mean, I think my family, there's a bit of both. Like they definitely maybe didn't understand. And there's some confusion, but there's also some support there. Just, we're going to support whatever you love to do. They definitely came to all of my shows and loved to watch and support. But yeah, definitely it's a world that they don't understand or appreciate as much as I do.
It can be a difficult thing. It's really like looking at it like going, how do you make a living doing this? What is this? I don't understand, right? I think it's one thing when people are doing like school plays or choir or, you know, dance recitals, and that's another thing to go, yeah, you can actually make a living doing this, which is strange. What was part of your trajectory as you started kind of becoming professional, as you started dipping your toes into the professional world?
You know, that has definitely evolved. And I was just talking to a friend right now who is starting off in his career. And I said, you know, for me, my passion is the ability to create. So that's why we've wound up where we are, to create our own project, to have, you know, to be able to write the music, to be able to write the dialogue, to be able to collaborate even with other choreographers as well. But that my journey also included, you know, being a part of other people's shows and other people's work at the Disneyland Resort, at Universal Studios, at Tokyo Disneyland. So being a part of those things all gave me tools to bring to my own project. And I would never undo any of that. All of those experiences gave me a tool for my toolbox.
We are definitely going to get into this with the two of you, like gaining that confidence to go, I'm going to do this, right? Like stepping out and doing that. So we'll get to that in just a second. So Aaron, you hail from Orange County, but did you start out?
No, I mean, I was born in Texas.
You were. So this is a part of it I didn't know.
Oh yeah. So I had actually a thick Texan accent. And so when we were doing Laughing Stock, my accent wasn't very good because I can't do accents, even though I had a Texan accent that I grew out of. So it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
How old were you when you left Texas?
I was around 10 years old.
Do you want me to walk away since you?
Oh no, you don't have to. I was just giving you this space. I was giving production value to.
What is she still doing in here? I was wondering. I was like,
she stays there. She stays there.
My mom moved. We moved in with my grandparents in Huntington Beach, and so I think my grandma, she wanted me to sort of get out of my shell, even though I was already kind of fine, but she wanted just me to be in some extracurricular activities. So she signed me up for acting classes over at South Coast Repertory.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And this is when I was middle school going into high school, just right before that. And so I was even in their Christmas Carol. I was the turkey boy.
So you knew JD Keller and Richard Soto and Ahisa Takakua. Were they there around that time?
Sure. Yeah. I knew all of them. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I was so young and it was so long ago. I
gotta remind it just a second. Yeah. You were in a shell?
Was that
short-lived? It was.
I guess it was short-lived. That's what my grandma said. She goes, "Oh, I just wanted you to get out of your shell." And I was like, "All right." Even though she has video of me singing at the top of my lungs in the middle of a crowd when I was like 6, just as long, I don't even know. So, but that's what she wanted to do. So, and this kind of comes around to the story.
She wanted to get him out of her house.
I think that's
it. You got to get out of this shell. You got to get out of this house.
But I met one of my teachers, Diane Doyle. So I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about Diane Doyle. God rest her soul.
Yes.
She actually just passed away. Diane Doyle was the reason that I work at Disneyland. I ended up working with Diane Doyle. I got cast in one of the South Coast Repertory children's theater productions that we were doing. Actually, my wife and I were also involved in those. And after I finished 2 versions of that, Diane was working over at Disney, and she was the one that ended up bringing me in for the audition for Laughing Stock.
Kevin,
crazy.
What show are you doing?
So I was doing 2 shows. I was doing
not anything specific. Did it have to do with ropes, sticks, and something else?
No.
Like, okay, never mind. I did a touring show. It was ropes, sticks, and like blocks. That was the name of it. And those are the 3 things we used to tell fairy tales.
Yeah. There you go.
And so Cheese Man.
So Diane Doyle brought you in over at Disney.
Sort of. So what happened was, this is pre-high school. So I went through high school. I was doing all, the plays and the music in the high school. I was in marching band, and we ended up starting, now I'm kind of zipping forward, but we started our ska band, And I said, hey, why don't we go to Disneyland and play at Disneyland? Wouldn't that be fun? Right? And I had no idea because I worked at Innovations for just a brief summer in high school. So I just went over to the big yellow building and I said, I'm going to walk up with the packet that I have and I'm just going to give it to
like your press kit, your band's press kit.
Yeah, but little did I know, you can't just walk in as I'm being turned
Hi, I want to sing here.
That's exactly. Hey, can I work here? Is that okay? As I get turned away from the security officer at the gate, and I'm walking away, there's Diane Doyle, and she remembers me. And this is at this point 4 years later, remembers me, and we just start talking. And I said, "Oh, yeah, She's like, "What are you doing here?" I go, "Oh, I'm in a band, and we're kind of theatrical with our music, and we'd love to play here." She goes, "Give it to me. I'm going to walk it up right now to Stan Freeze." And literally,
can you believe that?
Literally within 2 or 3 weeks from that moment, we got the call to say, hey, can you come in? We came in, we did it. She was in the room with Stan, with everybody, Tony, and then we got the job. And that's
unbelievable.
She got the job for Suburban Legends for
unbelievable.
But also that fate moment, but also time out their audition. Yeah. On stage at Tomorrowland Terrace, we discovered as we were dating, I was at his audition.
What?
And this blew my mind.
We auditioned in 19, right, in the rehearsal building, and we brought all our equipment in. They said, "This is great. We want to see how you do." So on one of the sets, I think even Voyager, that's how long ago. When Voyager was playing, we ended up just doing one set. So we did the first set of the night, and then Voyager came in and did the last
one set on one night. Rewind back to, I said, my musical theater group in Covina. Yeah. We would always go after our recital to Disneyland and celebrate, the end of our show and one of our friends' birthdays. We walk through Tomorrowland Terrace. We see a band playing with trumpets and horns going through the audience. I saw 2 shirts, one of them that the singer's wearing that said Bugs is better, as in Bugs Bunny is better than Mickey Mouse. And I was
at Disneyland.
I was so offended.
I was offended too. Anyway,
I literally, this is me in high school, probably marching over to a cast member and being like, how dare they allow this man to wear this shirt?
Yes.
Because we have rip away shirts. At that time, we had rip away shirts that revealed. So we had old
costume change.
We had Old Navy fleece vests, and then we ripped off and had these shirts that said things, right?
But then I was very offended by the trumpet player's shirt that said "I Heart Britney," Britney Spears, and me being the very serious singer I was like, I do not care for her singing. I love Britney Spears today. So anyway,
she hopped on the bandwagon.
I love her. It took, but at the moment I did not. And I was so affected by this show, this one show.
Yes.
Cut 2 years later, we're dating and we're going through the costumes of his band. And I pull out a shirt that says Bugs is better and a shirt that says I Heart Britney. And my mind explodes. And I'm like,
she didn't even know.
Guy.
You're
the guy.
Until we were doing laundry and getting rid of clothes.
Wow.
So I was at, Diane Doyle, walking up in that moment, got them that job. And I happened to be at the audition and we met years later. It's very strange.
That's unbelievable, man. You know what? Diane Doyle and again, God bless her soul, but it was just and she just passed away a few years ago, tragically young. But it was my gosh, she affected so many people's careers at Disneyland. The fact that would happen like that, and that bravado. Paul, go for it. What's your question?
I mean, it's just something we've touched on several times throughout the history of this show. And it's, there's being prepared for the moment. There's an element of luck, and there is a lot of who you know. And that's not saying who pulls strings for you, but if Aaron didn't know Diane, does she walk the thing up that day? Does Suburban Legends get in front of Stan Freeze? It's just so much of the connections that you make and the networking, but also being prepared for the moment. Obviously, you cannot take away from that. You got to be prepared for the moment. But it's so much about the relationships and valuing people for the talent that they have. And like, she remembered Aaron, obviously, because he made an impression on her 4 years before that. And so it's just like, it's not taking anything for granted. It's giving 100% every time you're on stage or in front of an audience. And wow, that's what happens.
There is something that happens with that. It's that bravado. It's a little bit of that courage. That's that little bit of like, what do I got to lose? Like, I've got to just go for this. What do I have to lose?
That's exactly what it was. I didn't think about it. I just did it,
And he's done that at several points throughout our and Kids Imagination's career, of just things that I would have said, you can't do that. And he's like, why not? Let's see what happens. And that attitude has rubbed off on me now. Like, yeah, why not?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I will say this. I'm going to applaud Aaron. I warned him that I was going to do it. But Aaron and I met when we were doing a fantasy fair down at Disney. We were both performing. We both did the same role. Oddly enough, I'm this giant Mr. Jones, and he's this tiny. We probably run the full gamut, right?
He's not tiny.
Oh, he's very small.
In that group of Joneses, I was the tiniest. I was tiny. But Paul, you and I are both tiny. So
we are.
Yeah, we are.
I don't know.
Well, or maybe I'm just a goon. Maybe I'm just a tall goon. Maybe that's what we should say. Okay,
let's just say that. That'll be fine.
I was a tall, goonish Mr. Jones, but
You're both lovely heights.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Tell my wife. Now, here's the thing. I met Aaron working on Fantasy Fair when it first came into being. And at that time, Aaron was wearing a lot of his Doctor Who, stuff. That was.
Oh, I still wear all my Doctor Who stuff. Nothing has changed.
Of course you do. But over the years of working with Aaron on that show, Aaron was one of these guys. Even as I transitioned from being in the show to eventually going outside on the other creative side and being able to come back in as a director on it, Aaron consistently over the history of that show, and God willing, when it returns as well, but he was always one of these guys in rehearsal that would always give 150% in rehearsal and was always trying, was always experimenting. I don't think I ever saw a rehearsal with Aaron Bertram where he wasn't trying and experimenting. He never walk through a rehearsal process ever. And I will tell you what an example that you are to performers and actors to go, why wouldn't you get up there and experiment in this, especially in that atmosphere? That's what rehearsal is for.
You know what, though? Here's the thing. And I don't know if you've talked about this before, but Disney is hard because Disney, you always feel like you're competing, right?
Oh my gosh.
If you're in rehearsal, you're competing. And I was just grateful for being there. So I never... And when we first originally got the job, and we were in that extra theater, for those of you watching,
the gallery.
We were at the gallery theater that was owned by
Glenn Campbell.
Thank you, Mark and Glenn. Oh my goodness,
Mark Teresa.
Mark he was one of the most amazing people ever.
Mm-hmm.
But we were in this theater that was off property, and we all didn't really know each other, so we all came together and just did the show. Every day I go, I don't know if I'm funny or if I'm doing this right, but I just kept doing it because I felt like, well, I got nothing to lose. I finally got in. I'm finally in Disney in one of my dream jobs that I've wanted to be in. And I think that's going in, I was just like, I'm not going to compete. I'm just going to do this because I want to make it the best I can. And then I want to, and I think I started that way. Like, I think I set myself up for that, right? So that as it continued going, I go, well, I'm not worried about competing. I'm not worried about losing or getting days. I'm just going to do it. And I want to just have some fun. And that's what rehearsals are about, right? Rehearsals are about throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks. Half the time it doesn't, but it doesn't matter because you're just having fun. And as an actor, you want to stretch those muscles. And I'm very grateful that directors let me do that. And,
I will have to tell you, man, like, honestly, even Aaron, you talking about this, for me, it's an example for me for being a performer, because I know Paul can speak to this. And that thing that you were talking about, like, especially as talk about behind the scenes moment.
BTS,
bro. BTS, guys.
I left to
Dudes.
my beat.
Dudes, wait till you
Smooth like butter.
yeah. Wait till you hear about this, dudes. All right. So behind the scenes stuff, because I fell into the trap as a performer, right? Like you get into this thing where you're doing the performing, you're there were seasons at Disney where when you would get a show, I used to joke about it saying, getting the show is only the first part of it. Like you get the show, and then I would describe rehearsals as cage matches, right? It was like, and Aaron and Paul, I know you've experienced this. Rachel, I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but particularly when you're in shows with comedians, man. Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
Like,
ouch.
and I will tell you, Aaron, it's so good for me to hear this, to like kind of go to have this attitude, like, going, you know what? I don't care. I'm just here.
Yeah.
But there were so many times that I would perform in shows, whether it was Laughing Stock. I didn't feel as much with Fantasy Fair because it felt like Fantasy Fair. I'm pulling it back, man. There were definitely days in those Laughing Stock rehearsals, especially when I was a performer thing. It just felt like walking into like MMA competition, where it was like everybody, and you'd have like your alpha dogs that were in the room. And guys, I'm just gonna let people know this. There would be times where you'd be performing in front of a whole bunch of comedians, and it would just be silence, because there's one of two things. There's one of two things. Either there's an alpha dogs in the room that when they're performing, it was like, ha, they're laughing and think everything's great. Or everybody else is like beta dogs are trying to fight, and nobody wants to laugh because they're like going, if I laugh, I show that that's funny, or they're in their own head, work with their own stuff. Paul, go for it, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to jump right back to that for a second, but I'm going to rewind it for just a minute and say, like, when did I meet? So I met Rachel. We didn't even talk about any of this.
Yeah.
I met Rachel like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. We met before you met Aaron.
Middle school.
Yeah. Exactly.
We were 5 on the playground.
Yeah, we were. We sure were. Doing a thing at the Disney parks, and then I don't even. Aaron, was it Phineas and Ferb, or was
Phineas and Ferb is when we met. Yeah,
Was it?
But it wasn't even. I don't even remember when at some point, but it was Phineas and Ferb, because it wasn't in rehearsals, because I don't think you went to rehearsals.
I felt like I knew who you were. At least we had met and talked
Yeah.
at some point before that.
Yeah.
So I just, as to what like Kevin is saying, so I was in the opening cast of Phineas and Ferb, and we were all just like a huge family with a PH. And then at some point, like, they had to hire more DJs into the mix, and Aaron was one of those. And we're at an overnight rehearsal. It's literally like 2:00 in the morning in the middle of Disney California Adventure. Everyone in the Grand California is trying to sleep. And Aaron's jumping up and down on the top of the float, like with the most energy I've ever seen any performer have. And he's screaming things that don't even make sense. And, and the director and the choreographer and the producers are laughing their heads off. Yeah. And like the whole original gang's like,
yeah.
Oh shit.
That sounds about right.
Should we be
I got in trouble so much.
Scared.
I jumped and I was swinging on those bars, and the manager said, "Oh, safety, you can't do that."
But it's 2:00 in the morning. Everyone's just kind of marking it. We're just doing it to get where the float's going to go on the route and make sure everybody feels comfortable where they are. And Aaron's just 1,000,000%. But yes. That's how he is. That's how he always is. Yeah. And it's not just in rehearsal. It's not just in performance. Like it's in every time he's performing. And that has always just blown me away about him. I asked him one day, I was like, "Hey, will you come play trumpet with us in this one show?" And not only was he like, "Sure," he was like, "I'll be there. I'll be 100%. I'll know all of my music. I'll dance around. I'll be more professional than all of you." And it was just like,
I didn't say that, by the way.
No, he didn't say that.
It was in my eyes going, hmm?
No, it wasn't in his eyes. It was in just the way that he handled himself and his just like professionalism. He's an incredible performer, and he's so professional.
I just want to point, thank you for saying all these kind of things. That's not why I'm here, for you to shower me with compliments. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're quite welcome. Now, here's the question I have. Rachel and Aaron, how the heck did you two guys start dating, and how did this become a thing?
At Disneyland, of course. Like, we met at Disneyland, we got engaged at Disneyland, we got married at Disneyland.
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
Yeah, we met that same group. My musical theater group was there. A few years after we were offended by his audition.
By the way, I'm sure I offend a lot of people. I don't mean to.
No.
Aaron's very good at like saying, I'm sorry. People just go, we love you.
Yeah, no, not truly. But in all seriousness, a few years later, I was there with that same group for the same reason. It was my best friend, Tawny's birthday, and we would stay at the hotel, cross over from the Disneyland hotel and go into the park. And his band was playing. They were at the time the first and only band that was playing at Downtown Disney.
Right.
And they were there like 6 nights a week.
Before the stage, before anything.
Before the stage was there.
Yeah.
And if anybody who's listening remembers, it's the Suburban Legends.
Suburban Legends.
Yeah. Yes. And we had in our theater group, we had like the older kids and the younger kids, and I was in the older kids. The younger kids, I say kids, we're
still kids.
Your
Sure.
20s. Come on, man. I'm almost 50 next year. So good. It's kids now.
We were kids.
Okay.
But the younger group had heard of the band and wanted to stop and listen. And I was like, no, we need to get to Space Mountain. Let's go. So we stopped for a quick second. This was in between sets. And we were being ridiculous and silly, as I like to do. I'm like, I don't know how much of this story I want to get into.
It's a lot, but
it's a lot.
It was in between, and we.
But at the end of the day,
it's a very specific moment that we always go back to. That was like, oh, that's the defining moment. We're not going to say what it is, but it's really funny.
I was doing we were being a silly theater group as we were.
Yeah.
But Aaron ended up, unbeknownst to me, taking my phone and calling his phone with
super
my phone.
creepy.
That is
super creepy.
Stalker. And then he went out and found your car, and then he put his hand on the hood to see if it was still warm. How long has she been here?
Yeah, but no, then I said, I was like, he said, like, stick around and watch our band. I was like, no, thank you. We're going to Disneyland. So we, my best friend and I took off. And then he immediately called me as I walked away and said, where are you?
Oh my gosh. So you're like going, who is calling me? Wait a second. You didn't have time to put your name in. Did you, Aaron?
No, I just.
No, he just like called his phone with my phone. So he would have my number. So he just had the number in his dialed calls. Yeah.
Paul's looking around. He's like, I don't know.
What a jerk. Nice.
So he called my phone and I'm walking away and he said, oh, come back. You should watch our band. And I was like, I hate to break it to you, but as I said, we are not watching your band. We are going on Space Mountain. And my future sister-in-law was with me. And she said, this guy is too much. Do not call this guy back. I did. And we talked every single night since that night. So
wow.
Yeah. It's one of you remember we were talking about, you just kind of just do it. You just kind of got to do it.
Yeah.
And not worry about.
I like this. I got a comment from Charity right now saying I was scarily accurate, Kevin, about the putting the hand on the.
I mean, he's touching on something that's kind of like totally off the tracks, but it's totally on the tracks for what you guys have done with your career. And it is something that like I implement in my everyday creative works and that's make people say no. Ask people. And ask people to collaborate until like make them say no, and ask the people that you respect and you want to work with.
Yeah.
But not only just collaborations, but just like, what can I do? How far can I push the line? How far is this limit? And you guys have created it like something absolutely incredible just by pushing that line, pushing forward, following your hearts, and just not making the world say no. And
yes,
they're not.
That's very.
Thank you. That has definitely been our motto as of late. Is just why not ask? Why not do whatever you can to get yourself in front of whoever you can. Yeah. And the worst they can say is maybe even not now. And they might say yes next time, but just keep exactly.
I'll be honest. Most of the time it's usually not now. Like that's the answer that we get. It's just not, it's not right now. Or And then we just go back and keep knocking on the door. We try to.
Well, and this is the thing now that's happened with kids' imagination.
Yeah.
Here's this thing that you guys have created. Give us what the genesis of this was. How did this start? And we're going to unpack this a little bit, because this is the part of it that I'm super fascinated by. Because Rachel, I know you were out there auditioning, doing all this stuff, getting into the other shows, like kind of going like, let's go. And where you guys are right now has literally been like, with everything that all of us as performers and actors have tried to like go, can you please let me into this? Can I please be a part of this? Can I please be a part of this? And what's happened with your life over the last couple of years between the two of you, tell us the genesis of kids' imagination.
It's a lot to unpack.
There is a lot to unpack. I mean, at its core, it started Aaron and Vince, who is the lead singer of Suburban Legends. They had been writing music together, since high school, and they're a beautiful writing team. Vince is an excellent producer. Actually, he's on a Grammy-nominated album officially today.
Today he got nominated
for a production on a song that's on one of the albums. But anyway, they started writing music together. I have a background in early childhood education. My mom ran an in-home preschool and daycare. Aaron started teaching at a preschool. So when he was there, he started teaching music, and he thought, this program that pre-exists, I could do better than what exists. This wasn't really made by musicians, or, it was just made for anyone who is not familiar with music and performing.
Now, I just want to it was a good program
it was
for
lovely.
a teacher that doesn't know anything about music to lead. It was a tape.
Right.
It was a CD. It was a CD. Okay. It was a CD that you push play, and then it was a record. It was an 8-track. Anyway, it was actually a mini disc. Sorry, we're going down a hole. I'm grading myself right now. It was just it was the teacher. The CD was the teacher.
Right. It wasn't meant for a musician to teach music. It was meant for a teacher to teach music.
And so I was like, I can do this better. And in these preschools, they would have these programs come in with extracurricular classes, that gymnastics, dance, all these different things.
But there really was no music.
There was no music. There not that many. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
So he started writing songs with Vince so that he could teach music. Cut 2 years later, it was the thought of, why don't we perform this live, these songs?
Because at these preschools, they would have shows. They have a budget for shows that was more than what we were making as just working day to day. It was like, oh, this is where the money is. We can get a show together. And it was one of those, we always talk, Rach and I always have big ideas. Like, we go, what's the biggest idea we can do? And then we start scaling it back. And this is the first thing where Rach was a part of the group of Vince and I, where we created these characters where, Vince is Beats the robot. I'm Zarin and Rachel's Rachel. And I built this fence treehouse that I would stack in the Prius, and it would just be 8 panels. And each of these panels connected with PVC pipes. Matt King is listening right now. He's going, oh,
he's shaking his head like, that is not efficient. That is not efficient.
But so I would come in, and it would take a whole length of a wall of these preschools.
Because we wanted, a set. We wanted like as legit of a set as we could bring mobily.
Yeah, that's right.
To a school.
I cut out a window, put a TV behind the window, so it would show a house and grass, so it looked like it was a tree house. Right. And this is the first thing out of the gate where we didn't slow in. Like, we just did it, right? And Vince is there going, okay, this is fine. And I just build it in, whatever. And
talk about learning as you go.
This is the best.
There was a door, there was an entrance, there was fog.
It was a fake door. So it was
a breakaway door.
It was a breakaway door where Beats the robot lived in this wall.
At the beginning, I had the most, experience with that age group.
Okay.
We had a fog machine. I mean, we had everything. So I go, let's bring out my friend with robot.
Fog. He burst through a wall like the Kool-Aid man. And you've got a row of like 2 to 6-year-olds hysterically crying.
Terrified, screaming,
running away.
Literally running away. Because the Kool-Aid man, who, Vince is quite tall, just burst through this door with fog.
I got a great idea.
You learn.
So here's the thing. We didn't learn right away. We did it like 3 or 4 times because I'm like, this is going to
it's going to work.
I know this is awesome. We just got to adjust it. Maybe less fog. I don't know. Because there was rumble in the music too. It was a lot. He would shake it. He shook the whole thing before he came out. There was a lot to it.
Yes.
Anyway, so
we also had
it on the TV because Rachel was at Disney at the time, working a lot.
I couldn't make every show. So we thought, okay, let's video chat with Rachel, or this is the window. And we're talking to her throughout the show.
So we have the can with the rope that went into the wall. So we would talk like this, but it was video chatting. So it was like, we thought it was funny.
Sure.
But yeah, it has definitely evolved over the years from maybe starting off as a live presentation of the songs that they wrote. And have continued to evolve into a concert, into a musical theater show, which today it's definitely more of all-encompassing musical theater with this overlying story and songs that we write specifically for those stories.
Because at the heart of it, we're storytellers. And I think that's what's missing a lot with children's music is a story. It's just a story that kids can listen to, be a part of, feel like they're connected with. And that's how, that's how you engage with them versus just singing and playing the music, right?
And then this is the thing of like continually as this show has evolved, as this group has evolved with the albums, the shows, the places that you've gone, it's just been continually like, let's write. What's next? What's the next thing? And to the point that we were talking about beforehand, which is as this thing expanded, it was like you guys just taking the chance of like going, hey, is there anybody out there that wants to take a shot with this? Right. We were talking a little bit about it because there is a little bit of it. Rach, this is where my music industry.
Your story. Yes.
My music industry comparison comes in.
Yes.
You guys are now at a point where, and please correct me where I'm wrong, but you guys have gotten
us people, no guys. Sorry, I'm just correcting you when you're wrong.
Dudes, here's the deal. Let's go back to children's education, shall we? Where's my, is there a cool, do we have the scream screen that will come up in the middle of this that will make me okay. All right. I've almost forgotten what I was going to say. Now,
the music industry.
Thank you very much.
And how it's playing into children's or entertainment in general.
Perfect. So what you two are doing is you're reaching out, you're doing your independent stuff. And there was a point several years ago where it was almost like, hey, we've got this package thing. We've got this thing that's like ready to go. And like any takers, right? Is there a little bit of that you can talk about at all to whatever extent that you're,
yes.
So
even as of this week though, do you want me to tell that story?
However you want to talk about it, you can be as vague as possible.
No, I don't mind talking about it. Sure. I'm going to kind of go back a little further away because of Suburban Legends and because we knew Stan Freeze. This is bad. I mean, this is a while ago, but is okay?
No,
do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
I love this. BTS, which by the way, what did Matthew King said? He said the translation for it is Bulletproof Boy Scouts.
That's right.
Thank you. Yes, okay. That's what we found out today.
So BTS translated from Korean apparently means Bulletproof Boy Scouts. So there you go. So let's do a little Bulletproof Boy Scouts.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Because of Suburban Legends, this is I contacted Stan and I said, hey, we have a kid. It's Vince and we have a kids thing. And again, Rachel was working in the park and we didn't know how that would translate. So she would come in when she performed or whatever. But this is back in the day. We actually, as Kids Imagination, performed at Downtown Disney. We have some video of it. It was, I think
it was 2010.
2010. So this was we were the first kids group to actually come in and do this at Downtown Disney. And this is sort of before the story, right? We still had our characters.
It was more of a concert.
Yeah. And we would do these songs and Rainforest Cafe, people would come out and go, we got your song stuck in our heads. But Stan Freeze even was like, hey, we want to do more with you. You know, we didn't have, I don't remember auditioning for this. Like,
no, we
just did it. Stan just trusted us and he said, sure, just go out in there and do it.
Stan was that way. Stan was definitely that way.
Yeah.
The second time around, we had to audition.
The second, and that's a good story.
Yeah.
Because with Tony LaBianca, who took over for Stan, and they were doing this whole thing. So Stan comes to me and goes, "Hey, we want to do a partnership with you and the Disney movies with Scrooge."
Go for it. Stand by for 1 second. Paul, what did you want to interject on that?
I just realized we never clarified for the audience. Stan is actually the director of music at Disney. At the Disney.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he was formerly. He was the formerly, and he also, they ended up bringing him over Knott's, I think.
Just for anybody who's like, who is this Stan?
I know, we keep referencing him. We haven't said who he is.
Sorry about that.
He is at Knott's now.
Stan played tuba and Yeehaw way back when, was the band director for Disneyland Band, which then became the main person to book all the bands and all the outside entertainment for the park.
Very good. Thank you. So go ahead. So Stan is the guy that's taking this risk with you guys down there and saying, go for it, all this stuff. Yeah. Continue.
So him and I, we went to the movies to watch Scrooge, the one with Jim Carrey. And it was just him and I in the movie theater. We had popcorn, we were sharing, it was great. And at the end of it, he looks at me and goes, "This isn't a kid's movie."
Right.
And I go, "No, it's not." He goes, "We can't do anything with this with you because we don't want to promote this to kids." So they changed the whole thing. It's just a fun. As I'm saying this story, it has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Listen, this was like your beats the robot moment of like kind of going, "This is going to be great. This is going to be great.
It's going to be great." And this was with Stan, and we both realized
it goes to say, like, throughout the journey, yes, we have contacted people, you just have to reach out to any idea that you might have that you might be a fit for, and sometimes it is and sometimes it's not.
And the second time when we got into downtown Disney, they had this full day where cover bands would come in and audition, and when they called us for the audition, we were stoked. I mean, we're just like, this is great because now we're performing at the Disneyland Resort.
This is now that we are a full-fledged musical versus, it's definitely evolved since the last time we were there.
Completely story-based, and we just like, this is it, right? If we can get this, we're going to get so many more people to be able to watch us and see us. And we've just waited for like 3 years, I feel like, for this audition or this chance. And this is what you're talking about, the package, right? Here's the package. Now we're going to just try to get someone to help us with that package or elevate it to the next
that's
level.
one of those moments for sure.
So when we went in, it was a 15-minute turnover between groups. So they had 2 rooms. One room they were in for the audition. When they're done, they have to go to the other room. We have to be ready for it. So 15 minutes for you to tear down, 15 minutes for the next group to come in. So it was a full rotation day of bands and groups. So when we got in there, we put up our whole setup. This is a banner, props. We used their PA, and we brought a confetti cannon in, and we hit it.
Okay, I've got a confetti follow-up story. Okay, go ahead.
So we hit the confetti
we have
cannon.
We usually have them anchored and up high above the banner, like confetti cannon and bubble cannon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
and this is a small audition room.
I mean, this is a little room. This is we shouldn't even be able to fit our banner or our group.
But we were like, we're bringing it all.
And we had to take
rehearsal room B,
rehearsal room B or something like that.
Rehearsal room B or A, one of the small.
No, this is off property. This is like a band rehearsal place. Like this is
I had never
super
been
small. There's a couch in it. We took the drums out, took the amps out.
Vince tore down the drum kit and we moved everything.
Yeah, and so we wanted to make sure that when they came in, it was ready to go. And like, because it's, that's for being professional. It's about getting it up there.
We were also hiding behind the banner when they came in. They didn't know we were even in the room.
Brilliant. Okay. Brilliant.
We were waiting, and then someone goes, they're just talking.
They're just talking as if we're not there, as if like we're going to come in soon, and they're just talking amongst themselves. We start our music like, "Ladies and gentlemen, presenting kids," like a voiceover. And they're like, "They're here? They're in here?"
We just popped out. Luckily, they didn't say anything bad. But we just popped out. We started doing it. It's a 10-minute set. I mean, it's super short.
It was like a medley of our songs and our story, like a condensed medley.
And then right at the big end, we did the big finale, just covered the place with confetti. It's an air blower, so it's not loud. There's no popping. It's just this mass.
But the woman who was standing closest to it was quite surprised.
Well, I noticed it was still above her head. And I had the remote for it. So I said, what, I'm just going to do it.
Yes.
See what happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we got it.
You got it.
We got the job.
They said, great, perfect.
And
Let's go with it.
We want the confetti at Downtown Disney. So we brought the confetti cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you guys clean that up every time?
Wait, Disney wanted confetti Disney
Huh?
wanted confetti.
They wanted us to bring
And
the
they
confetti.
had custodial, because wow, why can't I talk right now? They
Yeah.
had the custodian team like standing by, and they were like, once they saw us the first time, the next day they had like 8 people just like standing by waiting for the moment, and then they all rushed in and cleaned it up.
And it was so windy
That's
that day
amazing.
too. It just went.
I will say I got a small little confetti moment. I was called in to help. Do you remember the Snow White musical that they did years ago down at Disney in the Fantasyland Theater? I was called in to help out with readings and all that stuff as they were they were auditioning Prince Charmings and all this stuff, and also the Wicked Witch, Wicked Stepmother. I had this one woman that came in, and she was in full costume. You know, it's trouble when somebody's showing up in an audition. She was in full costume, and then she did her stuff, and it was really over the top, right? And she had a jack-o'-lantern candy bucket with her, and she got to the crescendo of her thing. And as she got to the crescendo of her thing, she went, "You'll never get me alive!" And she reached in and she pulled out all this glitter, and glitter went everywhere. And it went everywhere in this rehearsal hall. And I remember everybody was just silent. And I was the reader. And I walked up across the room, and I just got a broom and just started pushing the glitter out of the way as they were wrapping up her thing. But it was just glitter everywhere.
You know what? We're nice because our confetti is like about this big. Like we bring big chunks,
Okay,
and we
that's
clean
good.
it up.
We always
God.
clean it up.
We at the end of the audition, we cleaned it up very quickly. So.
Good. I'm glad you did.
I feel like we got off a little on topic, and I think,
okay.
Which is what we do a lot.
That's fine.
I do a lot.
But here's the thing, right? So you guys have these moments where I think that the other thing that we're talking about is like having these moments where you have the package and kind of going, hey, this is it. We've got this stuff. We've got it. Look, this is so easy. All we need is just a little bit of help, right? And usually what that little bit of help means is like, could you please just give us a little bit of maybe development dollars or any of this other stuff that we can do? And we can really, if we get the development dollars and the other stuff that we need, we can really help take this thing off, right?
Right.
And I think that you guys have had the experience, and we were talking about beforehand, and we've seen other people experience this in when they're pitching television shows or other things like that. There's a move that's happening where a lot of these bigger companies or media conglomerates are kind of going, yeah, you know what? Bring it to us all finished and wrapped up. We want to take as little risk as possible. And I don't want to talk too negatively about that because I'm grateful for people where those opportunities happen.
Right.
But it feels like you have these major companies that kind of go, we're the guys that are in charge. You're going to be lucky if we choose you. We're not going to do any of the work to help develop you or all that stuff, but we definitely get a major chunk of the profits when this happens.
Yes.
Now, I only say this as an example. Several months ago, I was watching, it was like a little Bloomberg video that was talking about the music industry and the stuff that happened when MP3s and digital music came in, and especially when it was like Napster and all this other stuff, when you had music, like it was in the late 90s and everything, where it was all about CD sales, right? Like CD sales were massive. And I remember a story that they were talking about, like all of the big music companies were kind of going, these are the deals that we make and this is how we do it. And somebody walked in and said, here's the thing. You guys better figure out what's going on with MP3s and file sharing. And this one person walked in, it was like a major calling of all the major music heads and saying, hey, what's your latest artist and who's coming out and what's their latest releases coming out next week? And they said, well, it's this. And they would name the artist and the album. And the guy would go over the computer and all of a sudden show how all of the files were being shared and like going, this stuff is getting away from you and the money paradigm is shifting. And the music industry has been that way, where it's always been about 15 years or 20 years, sometimes ahead of the curve. And I think what's happening, especially with creatives, which I think some of these conglomerates aren't getting, is it's becoming less and less decentralized, right? It's less about like going, hey guys, this is no longer going to be about you, about us. Oh, thank you that you've accepted our project, right? Yeah. I think it's going to be people like you, independents, that are out doing their own stuff and kind of going, what do we need? you guys for? like,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
we're kind of doing it now.
Yeah.
We're kind of making this stuff happening. We're kind of having our own freedom of what we get to say, produce, perform. We get a say in it.
Right.
And we're actually starting to make a living off of this, you know? Is there any of that? Is there any of that that you can speak to?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
I mean, it's definite. I mean, it's 100% accurate. I think you're right. It started with the music industry. I think it's true with television and shows. And we just this week spoke to someone who I'll keep the, I'm like, I don't know how much
You
detail
can be as generic as
I'll
possible.
be very vague. Somebody who works for a major streaming service in children's entertainment. And basically this person, you know, revealed to us that what they're really interested in buying, and this person works with people who buy new shows for our age group, is actually they're really only sticking to animated because it's something that they can sell to every country. And, you know, you can at a reasonable rate do voiceovers in all those various countries, that they're kind of trying to be very generic and not very specific and not do live action, because then it limits you to like which regions you can sell to.
Because if we're doing live action, it's going to be American based, because
Right.
that's who just we are. And how
so it
we
might not
write.
appeal to like the entire world, and they'd rather do something that they know, okay, we're going to keep it simple, we're going to keep it kind of generic, and then be able to translate it for anyone. So they're not really going out on a limb and taking risks with anything live action or anything like specific. But like we were saying, great example is like what Blippi has done, in that, you know, like you were saying, like people have these avenues and outlets to create their own product. You know, he had his YouTube channel, built his own audience. Then
Blippi is like the
preschool,
the guy for preschool YouTube videos.
But he blew up on YouTube, and from that created a stage touring show. And from that has, you know, now a streaming show.
Yep.
And it's like, you kind of have to come to them with that audience already. And with having done like your grassroots campaign of touring and collecting your own audience. And I mean, that is something else. One of my best friends who's in casting is kind of like, you know, concurred on all of that. Like you for what we're doing, you kind of have to, if you show them that your product works and that you have an audience, that they're, you know, interested in it. And there are people paving the way in doing that.
Yeah, I get it. Paul, what do you want to say?
I just wanted to give, it's like all I do is give them props during this podcast. But like when the pandemic hit, these two like pivoted like a mofo. But not only because like they knew they had to, but because they were able to, with everything that they had built up, with their audience base, with their package, their storyline. Like as soon as like the Vaudacity Network, Polly's Online Variety Show started doing virtual stuff, like they were 2 steps ahead of me. They're like, yeah, cool, we're already doing it, we got classes, sign up, and like that had just, not only does it speak to their creative vision and their creative versatility, but just like how smart they are.
Thank you.
And they were just able to see like this pandemic is happening. What do we do now? Like, we can't do these live shows. What are we going to do? And then all of a sudden they were like 5 nights a week on their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like just making it happen.
That is honestly, man, with you two, it's literally like going, okay, what does this make possible? What do we do? How do we, you know, what Paul was saying of just like, okay, and instead of taking the attitude of going, oh, it's over, it's ruined, it's all finished, it's like, no, okay, what does this make possible? Great.
Exactly. That exactly what you said is just the motto. What can we do within these parameters? And that's what, when we got kind of this no with our package that we've been putting together from the streaming service, it was like, okay, well then what can we do? We can build our own audience. And our pivot with that is, all right, well, let's see what we can do with, you know, YouTube management. Let's see what we can do with maybe getting investors or a budget to like go that same type of route of creating our own audience, creating our own tour. Like it's possible, we can do it, but I think that all the tools are there. If you just have, you know, the idea that you're going to go for it no matter what. And you're going to, if you reach a roadblock, you're going to pivot in another direction.
How do you do that when, I mean, and let's be realistic too. I'm sure that you have these moments of frustration or low points. How do you
No, we never do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, for
Oh,
How
sure.
do you-
we totally do.
For
how do
sure.
you pick each other up from that? What do you do?
Well, luckily we're little, so it's easy just to pick each other. Like we just go,
I told you. I told you. I knew it.
Yeah.
See?
It's because we're small.
It's because
It's because we're short.
I think sometimes we are on different times, right? One day it's me, one day it's her. I think we're never really at the same time. And I think different things affect us. And honestly, Rach has been just over the past couple of years really motivated in just being able to control your emotions through meditation and through self-reflection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. I think meditation has been a huge part of that. There's a lot of different books and things I won't dive too deep into, but just being able to manage your mind and being able to redirect those emotions into like, well, if I can't do this, what can I do? The whole like do the next right thing. I'm gonna take a page out of Princess Anna's book. Like, what is the next right step that I can make?
Yes.
And the minute you believe in that and believe in yourself without any doubt, what is the next right step? What can I do right now?
Oh.
And it's kind of hard to be as creatives, as artists, you get really just down on yourself if nobody likes it or nobody like reaches out and says you're great, which this podcast this is awesome for us because we feel like we're $1 million right now because of the compliments. But you
are $1 million.
It's kind of like you need that just positive encouragement from your audience. And I think part of it is pulling yourself back and going, well, we don't need that. Right. We don't need that
outside validation. It was like you were saying like earlier, you have to, it really is about valuing yourself, yes. Approving of yourself. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's not about what other people think about you. Like it's not about competition. It's about doing what is right for you and what makes you happy and if you're coming from that place of what do I love, what brings me joy, and that you're only in competition with the version of yourself from yesterday.
Oh, so good.
Can't go wrong.
So good.
No one is you. No one is you. I don't care if you're both comedians, like we were saying earlier. I experienced that same thing, like Grinchmas auditions, all improv auditions. Like, no one is you. You are the only you, and you're only in competition with yourself. Whatever you bring to the table, I don't care if there's like 10 bands of the same genre. No one is you. So as long as you approve of yourself and you just keep your eye on your prize, I think that's what matters at the end of the day.
So good. I love that so much. I do have to say this. I will say this. Krista King just said this. She literally said, OMG, kids, imagination, animation. That's all I'm saying. So
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. That would be, we want
live action first.
Live action
ultimately
first.
What we want to do is just sing, dance, and do it, right? I think like a cartoon would be awesome because no matter what, our voices don't change. So it's kind of like, oh, we
do want to do an animated music video soon.
Yeah.
I know. You guys would be amazing doing that stuff.
I think we jumped ahead a little bit because like, I think we're talking about, I'm going back, with the progression of what kids' imagination was, how it was just kind of a hobby. There was a pivotal moment where, what your Paul was saying, would you just kind of ask favors of people and also just you reach out for other people just for work and just kind of everything like that. When we decided to kind of push forward and go, well, what's the next step? What is the next right step for us? It's, well, we want a TV show, but how do we get a TV show? Well, why don't we just do a web series? Why don't we make our own TV show? And so we did. We sat down, we wrote it. We spent a lot of time. We asked everybody, Matt King included, who was so helpful and so awesome for his work on it too. We were able to, this is the part where it's like, we had a Christmas episode. I said, well, what if we reach out to Santa's Village?
Talk about like approaching and thinking like, they're not going to agree to this. He literally called up this theme park and was like, can we film our web series at your theme park? And I was like, that's insane, Aaron. And they were like, yeah. They said, actually, we've been wanting to partner with the web series to like help get our name out there. It's like,
yeah,
never say no, just always ask.
So we said, always ask, right? And so we got it. I mean, it was almost instantly. I mean, within a couple of days, I got a response from them.
And we traded. We said, we'll do a free live show for you if you'll let us film in your theme park. And they were completely
cool. So guess what? The next year, now we have a whole month that we're doing shows for Santa's Village. Next year, now we're doing it almost every day at Santa's Village. Wow. And then of course, COVID happened and then all that stuff. But it's that just like one thing leads to another, but also we're so grateful for these opportunities and so grateful for everybody that helps us too, that I don't think, we don't take it for granted. And so we also want to do something for them too, which then leads to this relationship that you have.
That's so it, right? I think it's that attitude of going in and saying, hey, how can we help each other? It's not, what can I get for this? Right. It's, hey, how can we partner? How can we be of service to each other?
Can we be mutually beneficial to each other?
How can we be mutually beneficial to each other? It's amazing.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Nailed it, guys. Nailed it.
But I mean, that's the thing, right? So we did this
Can't win. All right.
Karen, go ahead.
Sorry, what were you saying, Kevin?
He was trying to say mutually beneficial, but then you were going to say.
Finish your last thought, because then I
want to talk. No last thoughts. Go for it, Kevin.
Well, I do want to promote this, which is you guys have just released a new album. Yes. Best Day Ever.
Yes. And it is a culmination of every aspect of us. It's like our web series meets our live show. The entire album is a story. So if you listen from start to finish, you get a cohesive story. The songs, it's like a full-length musical meets a radio play. And there's moments where the kids can interact throughout. So kids love to listen to it from start to finish, and it's a whole journey. So it's definitely a CD we're most proud of so far.
Where is the best place we can point people towards for that album?
It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, Amazon Music, anywhere where you buy or stream music.
Come on, you've got to listen to that. And you guys are currently out at Santa's Village right now.
Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
Friday, Saturday. As of this recording, we're talking about November and December of 2021. If you're down in the Southern California area, up in the Lake Arrowhead area. Yeah. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't touch on this. And these guys, they're just going to go, oh, why is he doing this? You are the owners of a little house, correct?
Yes, yeah. A tiny house.
Please, yes. I want to hear a little bit about this because I'm just like so fascinated with this. I know you guys are probably sick of it. Yeah, we live in a tiny house.
No, it's our favorite. I mean, we designed and built it so that we could follow our dreams, traveling, performing. And we live in the middle of nowhere in this tiny house on wheels that we got to create from scratch and plan and build. What we love about it is that every inch of it is kind of planned to your lifestyle. So everything is multifunctional. It's all eco-friendly. We're off the grid on solar power. Wow. Well water, the water drips, like all of our water that we use in our sinks drip to water the plants.
Wow, this is amazing. Now you have like little videos that you touched on this stuff. Okay, because that would be fascinating. Now here's something that's fascinating to me, because I'm thinking about what the next stage is for us. I'm not going to get too into it on this thing, but thinking about what the next. So how do you guys do with internet connections?
It was tricky to set up.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Mama.
Surprise.
Hello, Mama.
It was tricky to set up. We are on basically, it's almost like a cellular Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yeah, it's made for rural areas, RVs and things like that, where you can travel with the cell phone. It's its own modem, and it's just cell service. Yeah, so we're off of Sprint, which is strong where we are. We also do something. We use a VPN to kind of, it's an app called Speedify, which allows you to not only use your internet, but you can use your cell phone internet also at the same time.
Like combines their powers like Captain Planet?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So right now we're not only using our Wi-Fi, which, is cell service is always spotty, but then we're also using our hotspot on our phone and then combining the two. So because we do our live streams here at our house. And so we want to make sure that we can always have the best live streams we could possibly do. So we ended up doing that.
It's so I mean, your signal is so strong right now. Sorry, I'm going to get technical for a second. Sorry, everybody that's here for creative stuff. Kevin's going to get nerdy for a second. Have you thought about, like, if things increase with options like Starlink or other things that are coming up? Have you investigated any of that?
That would be
Starlink
awesome.
looks amazing. It really does. Right now we're getting, if we're talking upload speeds and download speeds, our little router that for the house, upload speeds anywhere varies from 2 megabits per second to 8 or 9, and it really goes
of course
by using the Speedify service that we use both. I mean, we're getting 20, 30 right now. We're getting 40 megabits.
That's great. Upload. That's amazing. Now Starlink, and please correct me where I'm wrong on this, but Starlink is sort of connected with the Elon Musk company, but it's the idea of being able to have more remote, kind of like Wi-Fi satellite service, so that you're not as reliant on infrastructure. That's always a thing. Like, as I'm thinking about, like, hey, where do I expand? Where can I live that I can actually afford? Right. But when you get to some of these areas, you get scared. I had friends of mine that moved to parts of Virginia, and they go, oh, the internet's really slow. Let me call up for a business thing. They said, yeah, sure, we'll do that. Oh, yeah, we don't run out that far. We're sorry.
Yeah,
right?
That definitely was a challenge, but I'm glad that we found a solution, because it is, like you said, it's a solution to the costly housing.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that you can choose a budget for yourself, and it varies. I mean, you could save up and buy it outright, pay it off quickly.
Sure.
But yeah, the internet was a challenge, but there's a solution. Just like with everything, with the tiny house, we were like, we're going to make this happen.
We're going to make it happen.
And it's going to work.
Right now, Starlink isn't here right where we are. We've tried, and I know there's a waiting list for it too. And so it's one of those things. And I think, one of the hard part with Starlink is it adjusts because satellites move. So it adjusts. And when it adjusts,
you lose
connection. You lose your internet for maybe 20 seconds, which is not something that we at the time could do, right? We couldn't lose in the middle of a stream. Start over again.
It's just trying to figure it out, especially as we move forward. But who knows where the heck we're going to be 5 or 10 years from now?
It'll get there.
Yeah.
I mean, why not be on the beginning stages of it, which you two definitely are, with the fact that you're doing this with your cell phone and that booster link. Like, that's amazing.
I feel like there's always a solution. I think to anything that you want to do or a problem that you want to solve, I feel like there's always a solution.
Dig it. Yes. Now here's the thing. Final things that you would throw out. If there's anyone that's out there that's wanting to get involved in doing creative work, or maybe they're interested in doing the type of work that you two are doing, where you're saying, hey, we're doing children's outreach or children's entertainment, what would be your words of wisdom to somebody that was getting involved in this and trying to figure out, like, what do I do? How do I do it? I don't know if I had the confidence. What's your advice?
Do you want to go first?
I'll go first, because you're probably gonna be more eloquent with it. It's just, I think it's just do it. Just do it. Why not? Right? I mean, if you sit down and think about it and you're just like, well, I feel like I can do it, but I just need to prepare a little more for it. I prepare, but I never prepare. I just do it. Like, if I would sit here and go, man, I just need another couple of weeks, and then a couple of weeks go by, I had to work and I had to do this, I guess I'll just do another couple of weeks. It's always something else, especially with the arts. And if it's not your full-time job, I mean, it can be your full-time job. That's our full-time job, right? That's what we do. And it's because we just did it. We didn't think about it. We just jumped in and did it, and learn as you go, right? Adjust as you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No one's going to lay out like a specifically pre-made plan. You do this and then this and then this. You just have to get in and just start doing it. Absolutely. Rachel, your words of advice.
Yeah, something motivational and then something practical. Motivational wise, know your why and never stop focusing on your why. Know your why, know what brings you passion, know what brings you joy, and don't get distracted from that. Don't let other people or competition or obstacles, don't ever let that distract you from it. Just, again, do the next right thing. And On the practical side, there are always people there to get advice from. There are always people there to help you. There's always showcases, like for people who want to start out doing what we're doing very practically. There are like the library system in California is lovely. They have for the LA County, Orange County, the Inland Empire, there are showcases that you can do. So any show that you are developing for any age group, for children, for teens, for adults, you can bring your show and showcase it and do like a 5-minute medley of your show, montage of your show. And the cities, in all the counties I mentioned, the cities everywhere, all around the US are always looking for entertainment to provide. And that's a built-in audience. So you can workshop your show, test out your show with your targeted audience, and you can present the showcase for city officials, for librarians, and say, you know, here's my show for kids, here's my show for teens, here's my show for adults. And they come around and book you for, you know, shows within the city, within the library, and they've got a budget. So that's a great place to start if you're developing a show, because there's a built-in audience in every city that knows that these venues put on shows. Even like the Pearson Park Amphitheater in Anaheim, a huge amphitheater, they're always looking for entertainment, and you've got that audience that's going to come and watch you and latch on to what you do and start following you to other venues. So that's a practical piece of advice.
Practical and easy. Literally all you have to do is do it.
I love it. Rachel, I guarantee that you and I have read many of the same books.
I bet we have.
I guarantee it.
I read comic books.
I don't read. Can't tell, right?
Aaron and Rachel, could you please let our audience, those people that are listening or watching, know where's the best place to find you online, through your website or through your social media handles?
Yes, Kids Imagine Nation. So those are 3 separate words: kids, the word imagine, and then the word nation. That's how you can find us. We're very active on Instagram. Our website where we do our streaming is kintv.live.
Yeah, and you can just click the link right here. Did you put that, Paul? Did you put the little button?
I will.
You can just touch it.
No, you can blame me for it. There it is.
And if you are interested in tiny houses, we just got a second tiny house and we'll be renting it out as a glamping with a gorgeous view. If you want to test it out for vacation, if you think you might want to buy a tiny house yourself.
Yeah.
But do we get to hang out with you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
get to be a part of the live stream.
Outdoor movies on our outdoor movie screen.
Aaron's like going, this is the first time that I'm hearing this. We did not talk about this at all.
We'll wave to you. We'll wave.
He's just gonna wave.
Share that information with me as well, and I'll put this in the link for the show.
If all the viewers go to kintv.live, that literally is a 24/7 channel of all our content, and we go live on that channel. So it's kind of like Netflix plus its own little TV channel on it.
So good.
Yeah.
Aaron, Bertram, Rachel Charest, thank you so much. You guys have been an amazing guest. Thank you. Paul, how can people help us here on the show for your creative journey?
Well, people can help me. They can't help you, Kevin.
Seriously.
No, they can help our podcast by liking, subscribing, rating the podcast, however you consume podcasts, whichever platform you're on. If you give us a good review or just review us in general, it'll help the algorithm and help people who like things like this find things like this, and hopefully this thing.
There you go. I couldn't have said it better myself. If you want to find archives of this as well, you can go to yourcreativejourneypodcast.com, where we also have a donation link that you can help to offset some of the costs for the show. Big shout out to our social media team with Christina, Dari, the entire team that's over there. Also, big shout out to our audio editor, Steve Erdeman. Thanks for your help, buddy. We appreciate it. All right. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We got another guest. Rachel, Aaron, you're amazing.
You're amazing. You are amazing. You are so inspirational, sir. I have to tell you that if we have 1 second.
Yes, please.
The way that you speak to people and the way that you direct people. And I actually had the privilege of auditioning for you for Knots. And I want to say that the joy and the warmth that you present is so wonderful, so refreshing, and so inviting. I really appreciate that. Your leadership, your energy, it's a joy.
I appreciate it. I really
to add on to that, Kevin,
Yeah.
The moment I met you 8 years ago, I said, this guy is the kindest, most talented person and hardest working guy I've ever met. I told Rachel that. And as we work together for all these years, I have so much respect for you, for the hard work you put in, but also just the inspiration you have for everybody looks up to you, and everybody says, Kevin Gregg, I want him directing. I want him helping and mentoring. I honestly, you are such a genuine, amazing, talented, incredible person.
Thanks, goofballs.
Yeah.
I appreciate
And
it.
Paul, you are amazing. You
Yeah.
know you're amazing and talented and incredible and hilarious.
And we enjoy everything you do, Paul.
Kevin's big on our screen, so we just have
We
his
had
big
to
mug on it.
Hey, I got a question. Has Kevin ever tried to kill you in an audition before?
You got to go
so
back.
far.
Got to go back and listen to past podcasts of how I tried to kill Paul at a Star Wars Jedi audition. I did that.
Also a very heartwarming experience.
I do want to say this. I appreciate that. I appreciate that dearly. And Rachel, that means so much. Aaron, that means so much. And especially Rachel, what you talked about with that audition process, we know how hard it is for actors when they are auditioning. And I've been on the other side of that. And the fact that you said that, like, I want to make sure that if an actor is coming in to go, hey, we're just here to play, no matter what happens, let's do that. Let's have a great time and do that. So thank you for those kind words. And Aaron, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It's just been amazing. And I'm going to Paul's horn here. This guy has been inspiration for me with the stuff that he's been continually doing with Vaudacity Network, churning this stuff out. And again, listen, the people that we're seeing on this show right now, it is an indication of who this man has reached, who he has just meant so much to. And so, Paul, thank you for everything that you've done with this. You've been an inspiration to everybody here that's on the show.
Absolutely.
It's been a true honor to be on this journey with you, Kevin, and Rachel for the past 15 years since we were 5 years old, and Aaron. And I can't wait for another 15 years when we're all sitting around talking about the last 15 years. Last 30.
Remember that time we were on a podcast? What's that?
Before we were all millionaires.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I can't wait.
This is very successful. And
I can't wait. All right, we're going to end it for all of our YouTube folks. Thank you so much, guys. Hang around. Aaron and Rachel will say goodbye to you once we do that. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you to all of our audience for listening. God bless you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you soon.
Eat lots of turkey.
Bye, gang.
Bye.